Welcome to the Foothills of the Smokies Podcast, brought to you today by the Old Mill. Our historic gristmill, in continual operation since 1830, is the cornerstone of our spot right here in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. We've been welcoming families for decades, and now we invite you to join us as we tell the stories of not only the people and what they do here at the Old Mill, but of folks from all across our beautiful region here in the South. I'm your host, Jimmy Proffitt, and this is Foothills of the Smokies. And today we are inside the Old Mill itself. So if you hear a little background noise, that's just the water rushing right on by. And today I've got Chuck with me. Chuck, welcome. How are you?
Good to be here.
Good to have you in the hard Pigeon Forge. So tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, my name is Chuck. I'm the head miller here at the Old Mill. I have been here for 15 years now, a little over that.
Wow.
So quite a while. And it's kind of like my second home away from home, actually.
Tell me a little bit about what a typical day, a good day, a typical good day,
up
here in the mill would be. So what does that consist of? When do you start your day?
Well, for us, we start before the sun comes up. So it's one of those get here dark early in the morning. So we come in, we start getting our day lined up. What do we have to grind? What do we need to move? Who needs what, when, where, and how? So we take that plan and we start moving forward. If everything goes according to plan, it works out ABC 1, 2, 3. Not all days are like that, but that's a good day.
Okay, and in a good day, what are you going to grind? What is that?
Most days we're going to consist of grinding a lot of cornmeal.
Okay.
And you can see all these bags all around you. We're going to be making special mixes and filling all these bags up, just like they did back in the old days, all filled by hand, weighed by hand, and tied by hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it hasn't changed much since 1830.
It hasn't changed much at all. In fact, we're doing everything pretty much the same way. The original stone setup is the same as it was back in 1830. That hasn't changed a bit.
Wow. So when you said corn, how much corn are you going to grind in a day?
Depends on time of the year. And that's really a great question. January, February, maybe March, not that much. The last 3.5 months of the year, we're going to do almost half of our business. In a day, we can grind a full pallet, which is close to 2,500 pounds. Or right now, this time of year, we may do only 1,000 pounds.
Wow. And so who are you grinding this corn for?
Grinding it for a lot of people.
Okay.
We have 2 stores on site, the general store, the farmhouse kitchen. We have 2 fabulous restaurants, the big Old Mill restaurant and the cafe right across the street. In addition to those folks using our products, we have wholesalers we supply for. The National Park uses our product and a couple others as well.
What's a typical not good day?
Typical not good day. Well, first off, remember, we're dealing with the mill that was built in 1830.
Right.
So a lot of the equipment we have is older equipment. It's a little temperamental, kind of like me, maybe. So a bad day is going to start. We're getting ready to grind the corn. We got everything all set up. The belts pop off. And you put them back on and they'll pop off again. Or you finally get that going and the belt slips off the water wheel. So now you can't load the corn. Those are bad days. Some things you can fix really easy right on site right now. Other times, he makes me pull my hair out, and
So you've had a few.
I've had a few of those days. Absolutely, it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge. If you're a person who likes going into a job where it's not going to be exactly the same every day,
right?
This is it, because I never know what day to day is going to bring. I'm kind of wearing 2 hats. I have to run the business, which is the grinding the corn, filling the bags, getting all this stuff ready. But then there's also another side, which covers the history side, which is kind of what we're doing now a little bit. Community relations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What brought you to this career? So 15 years ago, what were you thinking when you came and you put in an application? What were you looking for, and what was the Old Mill looking for?
I had no idea what the job entailed.
How much prior experience?
Milling?
Zero. Okay.
Now, back in the old days, you would have to be an apprentice for a good while before you were able to do something like this. But the way I came across the job is kind of a unique story. At my church, our pastor, his wife's brother, was actually running the mill at that time, and he was getting ready to quit. And he knew this, and he knew at that particular moment I was looking for another employment opportunity. And he said, why don't you just go down and talk to him? So I came down here, looked around, didn't have a first clue what I was getting myself into, and I say, hey, this looked like fun. So it went from there, and it's been an amazing ride. It really has. The amount of things that I've learned, the history of the place, first off, what made Pigeon Forge build up. I mean, it all started here. So all this stuff was so unique, and I learned things even now. I still learn things.
Right. Yeah.
So you never.
I mean,
stop.
one of my jobs is Old Mill historian, and I'm still learning, still finding things out. Because the bad thing about history is it's sort of interpretive. It's to what the last person remembered hearing, reading, knowing, and passing that information on down. So I know we both have done a fair amount of research trying to determine what part of that history is accurate, what we know to be true.
Exactly.
So being in the mill every day, you probably find clues to some of those truths in that history. So let's talk about the history a little bit.
Okay.
So the mill was built in 1830.
It was.
What was happening in the mill at that time? What do you know was happening there?
What I know is it was a lot of history right here in this building. First you started with the Iron Forge, which was the mill's right next to where the Iron Forge was.
Right, so that predates the mill.
Right. So you had that going on. Well, then the next thing you got going on in here is they opened the first post office. So if you open the first post office, what do you get to do? You get to name the place.
Yep.
So he takes his dad's forge and the passenger pigeons that travel through the area by the hundreds of thousands, puts two names together. What do we got? Pigeon Forge. The name sticks.
And he being William Love, who built the mill, and his
Absolutely.
father, Isaac Love, that built the Iron Forge in 1817.
Correct.
So we're in that building that he built in 1830.
Right.
The Iron Forge is, of course, now gone. That no longer exists, but some other things have happened in place of that. So we now have the general store there, but prior to that, that was the sawmill and storage and things like that. So,
and because he opened up the first post office, it really started turning into more of a gathering place.
Yeah.
Pigeon Forge started right here. This is where Pigeon Forge started. You bring your grains in to grind, you're picking up your mail, you're checking the news, any type of notices, marriages, deaths. I need help with this, you need help with that, somebody passed away, somebody was born. That's where you got your information, was right here.
Yeah, so they come by and they'd see the door on the mill.
Yeah.
And if you come by today, you can see all the nails and the holes and the tacks in the door.
Still there.
And that's where they would post. So we talk about social media and how we, get information out to everybody.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we're doing now anyway.
Right.
Back then it happened. It just took a little bit longer because it was posted on the door.
Posted note on the door, yeah.
And you wouldn't know till you came to town. And that could be weeks to months.
It could be.
In between trips.
It could be.
So, the mill was here to support the local farming community.
Yes.
So they weren't ordering corn in like we do today.
Oh, no. Everything was local, right on the fields, right around this area. They'd bring them in by the wagon load. Sometimes, depending on how much they had, they could wait for the day and get it ground the same day. Other times, they probably had to come back in a week or so to get it. There would be a bit of a backlog on that.
Right. So how would the miller get paid back then? You get a salary today, but the miller didn't have anybody that was giving him a salary back then.
That's true. It could have been one of a couple different ways. First thing, if I brought in 1,000 pounds of corn to grind, a lot of times the miller's going to take a portion of that to the side as his payment. And then he's going to either sell that or use it himself or whatever. That's his payment.
Right.
Some people would have had some cash, some money. They could have traded chickens, eggs, cow, pig. I mean, any of those things were legal tender back in those days.
Right.
So you could have been paid any number of ways. But by and large, barter and trade was going to be the number one way you were going to get paid.
So where we're sitting at right now, for the folks that are watching,
yes,
we're sitting literally right at one of the Fairbanks scales that they use.
The Fairbanks scale. This is the scale, one of the scales they would have used to weigh your product when they're bringing it in. We still use this today. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty cool. So you bring your corn in. I'm going to keep 15% of it. We're going to weigh it out and then set my portion aside, get yours done, and get you on your way.
And that weighing it in and weighing it out doesn't mean if you keep 15% of whatever they brought in, that's after you processed it as the miller. So after you've done the grinding, which means there's going to be less product. And why?
Well, is it on the cob?
Right.
Did it be shucked? Did they shuck? Most of the farmers wouldn't have the ability to do that, so they're going to bring it here to be done. So extra labor for me. First thing I got to do, did they dry it properly first? Did they clean it at all? Did they take the stalks and all that off at all?
Yep.
I have to do all that first, and then get around to finally separating the corns from the kernels and weighing it out.
Yeah, so with your day today, you're going to open a bag of corn.
Yeah.
drop it into the hopper, get the stones going, and your day is up and running fairly quickly. But in 1830,
unlikely.
You're right. It may have taken quite a bit of prep to get ready,
Correct.
Just to get the stones turning and grinding.
Yes, exactly right. A lot more labor involved.
A lot more labor involved. So when it comes to the grinding, what's different about the stones today than in 1830?
The stones themselves, absolutely nothing. Stones are the same. They're a little over 2,000 pounds. They operate the same way. Our main stones are still water powered, just like they were back in 1830. The only difference is when they first opened the mill back in 1830, the big water wheel actually powered the stones. Now they changed that to a water turbine. And sometime in the mid 1850s, the first water turbines.
Right.
And they found out that just gives them more power, if you want to break it down that way. They could run more machinery, less maintenance, which was a big deal. Before you had this long water chute coming down the river, 100 yards, 150 yards.
Yeah.
We had to maintain that. With the water turbine, it's contained in a basically a concrete box. And all you're doing is filling it with water, letting it spin. Much easier on them. A lot less maintenance.
Right.
Made your lives a lot easier.
But on a bad day, you don't have a lot less maintenance, do you?
On a bad day, we don't have a lot less maintenance. When something breaks on this equipment today, one of the biggest problems I have is I can't pick up a phone and call Lowe's and say, hey, I need a part.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
We have to take it apart, see which part's broken, and many times have to have that part manufactured specifically.
So that's pretty much like they did in 1830 as well. They had nobody to call on, so they
but they had to wait a lot longer, though. They may have to call one of the big cities, probably Knoxville.
Right.
How do you get a message in Knoxville? You get somebody on a horse, and you have to ride there for a 3-day ride, I guess, from here. I don't know how long you have to get there on a horse. But first you had to
probably
do
a
that.
half a day ride. Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
And then wait for it to get manufactured and then get it back. So there was a big turnaround time back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's funny what's changed and what hadn't, and how we're still operating.
So many things that are so
today.
similar.
Yeah, so similar to 1830,
Yeah.
but you have things today like inspections and so on and so forth that you have to keep up with as well. So you've got, like you said, the business side of what you're doing, as well as the milling side of what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but so many things were so similar that it makes me scratch my head and say, wow, it hasn't changed that much. I still have a problem with the weather. The weather's a big deal for me.
Right.
If the water's too high, I can't grind. If it's too low, we can't grind. If it's too cold and the water freezes up, it freezes the equipment up. Guess what?
And all that has to do with the level of the water and what it's going to do. So explain the bit of the process of the water coming down the river, and what do you do with it at that point? What happens?
What do I do with the water?
Yes.
I make it spin my equipment. No.
Okay.
We bring it into our pen stock, but the thing is, if the water's too high and we have a water wheel sitting out there, it's going to drag on the bottom of that wheel, and it's going to cause it to move. Now, we had that problem a handful of years ago. It actually moved the water wheel 1/18 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, just enough to get on the belt off, get on the chain off. So we had to retool the whole thing. So that's something I have to watch. It gets too high, we have to stop. The other danger is if the water gets too high, it can start affecting the building itself. If it starts to lift the building and push it, that's a problem.
Right.
And over the centuries, almost 2 centuries now, the mill has been damaged from high water. In fact, we've lost 2 bridges sitting right out next to us because of the high water. So that's something that concerns us. When the water starts getting high, we're paying a lot of attention to what's going on with it.
Yeah, so as far as we know, the water wheel that's on the front of the building today, on the riverside of the building, is the second one that we know of to be on the building.
Yeah.
So for a number of years in between those floods, so the first one in the mid 1800s, second one in the early 1900s, there was a period of time we went without a water wheel. So how did the mill operate?
That would have been with the water turbine.
The turbines below.
Turbine inside the turbine box, yeah. Again, that made a lot of things easier. They didn't have to worry about it as much.
Right.
The water would have to really get high then for them to be concerned about it, because everything's already down there.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about it.
So you're opening the door at the end of the dam, and that allows water to flow into that penstock.
It does.
Passes through those turbines, and then where does it go?
Right out the bottom.
Right out the bottom?
Right out the
back
bottom.
to the river.
Back into the river.
So we're pretty sustainable, aren't we?
We are.
We're just borrowing that water for just a few minutes.
Well, we did run first electricity for Pigeon Forge
This is
with
true.
that turbine.
Yeah.
Doing that exact thing. Spinning that turbine around from the water coming through, generating electricity, and sending it down the line, I guess is what you would say.
Yeah, so okay, you've said we were a mill.
Yeah.
We've been a mill since 1830.
Right.
We were also a post office.
We were.
early 1840s.
Somewhere around that area.
For, I think, about 2 terms of a postmaster. So the first miller, William Love, was a postmaster.
Yep.
And then when he left, then someone else took over the position of postmaster. And at some point, the post office moved off. We were the Pigeon Forge Power and Light Company.
Yes.
So that, for a while in the early 1900s until TVA was formed, right?
Right.
So then they started producing power. So what did we do with the power here? Did we store it? Did we have somewhere that people could use power 24 hours a day? Or was it just the miller was operating?
We talked about that a little bit. Some of the history we don't know, we're not sure about. Now, we have a joke here in the mill that if we're generating electricity, and we know the millers weren't here 24 hours a day. We know that.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense, just from what I know about the equipment, that you kept it running 24 hours with nobody here.
No.
Because that's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So we're thinking, okay, did they have a bell? Did they ring a bell? Or did they flick the power switch to let everybody know, hey, we've got 5 minutes and we're getting ready to cut it off?
Yeah, so what I've known was they would turn the governor on and off.
Yeah.
That regulated that electricity.
Exactly.
And when the lights in town would flicker, they knew it was time to get out the oil lamps, fire up the cook stoves.
Right.
Because they were going to be without power for the rest of the evening.
Yes, they were.
And then they never had power on Sunday, did they? Because the miller might work 6 days a week, but he's not working on Sunday.
Not work on Sunday. That's
yeah, so the power was shut down as the mill was shut down.
Yeah.
And so what else has happened in the mill besides those?
During the Civil War, there's some interesting history there. Up on the second floor, they set up these big clothing looms. Mm-hmm. You've seen these big things, they weave the cloth.
Right.
And they were making cloth for Union uniforms. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people go, aren't we down south?
Yeah, we're pretty far south.
Yeah, we're pretty far south. But the thing is, this area was kind of a Union stronghold.
Well, East Tennessee was pretty split between Union and Confederate support. So
there
were families on both sides of that debate and that fight and that.
Which brings us to why we think the mill's still here. Because if you think about it, the whole idea of war is to eliminate the enemy and his stuff. Well, why didn't somebody burn the mill down? Because we think actually they were providing to both sides and everybody knew everybody. And Cousin Frank is running the mill and Cousin Bernie works there. So, we don't want to do it.
I've always read that that John Spear Trotter, the second owner of the mill, was a Unionist.
Right.
But that was a secret knitting mill that he set up. So he was keeping that kind of quiet. He didn't want a lot of people to know really what was happening. And I'm sure, like today, if your political views get out there, there are going to be some people that aren't going to like it, some people that will like it. So he probably knew then, too, just to kind of keep that to himself and keep his business operating and keep things going as they were, because he had a job to do. This was pretty important to the community.
It was very important.
Because farmers were still growing, they were still grinding, they still needed those grains to be processed. So it was really important for the mill to operate. Because like you said, if they took out literally the heart of the community, you're going to bring that community.
It's going to be devastating. So, it really is,
and then what happened up on the third floor during the Civil War?
Up on the third floor, what a place to be in the summer. Up on the third floor, they had an infirmary set up. We go up there for storage mostly now. We have to do some maintenance up there. If you're upstairs on the third floor in the summer, you're not having any fun.
Can you imagine? You've been wounded in battle. They send you to the old mill, put you on the third floor, and you've got to stay up there to heal.
It would be.
How much healing can you
have? Yeah, it would be miserable. Getting you up there to begin with would be a chore in and of itself, because the stairs, the way they went, it would have been a chore to get you up there, but you would not be having fun. You would want to get well quick to get out of there, because you wouldn't be having fun.
And even in the winter, like today, it's pretty cool. It's pretty chilly here in the mill.
It is.
So you're going to be up there healing and shivering all at the same time. Why is it cold in the mill today?
Why is it so cold in the mill today? It's a great question. The mill, if you look around, you can see there's dust everywhere.
Yeah.
When we're actually grinding that dust,
I was going to tell you, you might want to clean this.
You might want to clean the place. I know, right? That's one of those things. But with all this dust flying in the air, if we had any type of open flame or anything that had a spark, it could cause an explosion. So we have to be careful about heating. So we can't really use any real serious heat in here.
Right.
That's why it's so cold. Likewise, though, in the summer, we don't have any air conditioning. Slightly different reason, though, because we're on the Registry of National Historic Places. So we couldn't make any modifications for cooling that would enable us to cool the building.
And all year long, I noticed you have the windows open.
We do.
Why's that?
For the dust. We want to air it out as much as we can.
Need that
keep air circulating in here as much as we can. Usually we have big fans that we'll have running. We've turned them off right now for this, obviously. as they can be kind of noisy, but all that's for ventilation. It helps keep us and the millers safe.
Right.
Keeps the building intact, yeah.
Because keeping that dust down in here, getting it out of the building, is going to help prevent that spontaneous combustion that you talked about, so that of anything going up in the building.
Things that go boom, we don't want that.
We don't want that.
We don't want boom, no. Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. What's a typical day for you like now that you've got 15 years in? What can you anticipate? What do you look for to make sure that you don't have more trouble on down the road?
It's all about having a good crew.
Yeah.
If you have a good crew that's trained properly, all you have to do is give them the most basic direction of what needs to be done. I call it a plan of the day in the morning, and we discuss it every single morning. What do we need to do today? And you can give them that plan of the day and pretty much send them on their way every once in a while. Just check, see what's going on, make sure there's no problems. So that makes it really, really, really easy. But the key is having a good crew that's well trained and they understand what you need and when you need it.
Right. So in 1830, as they're waiting on the farmers to harvest their grains and bring them in, their days could vary. But you're going to know 6 months from now what you need to have on hand, what you're going to need to be, typically what you're going to need to be grinding, because now we're ordering it all in so you can forecast what you're going to need.
For me now, the big thing is forecasting.
Yeah.
What did I use this time last year, the same week, Joe? What are my trends? By keeping track of this week to week, I can see what's building up, what's slowing down. Is all of a sudden some particular item spike? Okay, that spike. Why did it? Was that just an aberration, or is this something?
Right? Is there something trending?
Something going on here that I don't know about?
Somebody made a recipe on TikTok, and suddenly they all have to have buckwheat flour.
Usually means I need to call Mark and find out what did you guys do to me? What you put on special? That's usually what that means. But no, you never know. The restaurants could be running something. All of a sudden, everybody in town wants country fried steak, which takes a particular item.
Right.
And they're selling way more of that than they did anything else. That'll cause something to spike. So you're constantly looking for those things and keeping track of them. But by forecasting and keeping a chart of what you've been using, what you had used, you have a good idea where you're going. And that's the key, trying to anticipate what everybody needs.
Right. Now, I've heard you say that on Monday morning you can go out and look on the shelves where you keep all the milled product that's ready to sell. You can tell who's been in town that weekend.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How do you know?
Leave it to you to come up with that, right? So here in the mill, as you know, we do everything in two colors.
Right, white and yellow.
White and yellow. So when we leave on Friday afternoons, we make sure everything is stocked up in white and yellow.
And that's grits and cornmeal butter.
Grits, cornmeal, self-rising. Until recently, the jalapeno would be in that. So we come in Monday morning and we look around and see what's sold over the weekend, of course. If more yellow corn-based items have been sold, we've had more Yankees in town because they are partial to yellow. Okay. I'm from West Virginia. Grandma always used yellow. On the other hand, if more white is missing, more Southerners. Now, the Midwesterners, they're a toss-up. They can go either way. So you never know with them.
So you don't know.
As well. And, of course, we get into October, November. It's all gone anyway, so it doesn't matter. Everybody's here.
What's the difference in white and yellow?
The color, you mean?
Uh-huh.
Other than the color? Some people say, and I agree, that the yellow is just maybe a hair stronger in corn flavor. Not much. Just a little bit. And I like the yellow myself. One, I think it looks prettier. I think the cornbread looks prettier.
Right.
It just has a more appealing look. And, of course, Grandma always put a little bit of sugar in it, being from West Virginia. Down here, that's
just say
that religious thing? I know, right?
You just said you were going to put sugar in your cornbread?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I'm from Virginia, so we liked a little bit of sugar in our
little bit, not a lot, just a little bit,
just a touch. You know, I hear it's not so much that makes it sweet; it helps it brown better. A little more of that golden color on top of that yellow already.
Yeah.
So that's the story I'm sticking with. That's why I put sugar in my cornbread. But we're both going to get hate mail.
We're both going to get hate mail, but hey, I like a little sugar.
But you know, there are going to be people that say absolutely, I love sugar in mine as well. So when it comes to grits or cornmeal, is there a difference in what people buy between the white and the yellow?
Believe it or not, no, it follows the same pattern.
Okay.
Basically. And then in our restaurant, we use yellow grits. And you would think that because we did, we'd have a big run on just the yellow because that's what we feature, but that's not true. They're very evenly matched on the sales.
So what's the difference in cornmeal and grits? You're using the same corn, correct?
Yeah. Big difference.
What's the difference?
Is how it's ground, first off, okay? We're going to grind grits a little more coarse.
Okay.
And then we're going to separate. Now, what I mean by separate, we're going to take just the whole part of that corn, and we're going to keep it. And we're going to get rid of all the flour. We're going to get rid of all the bran and just have that one little piece here, that little grit.
Okay.
And that's what makes your grit. That's what makes it. We've talked about our equipment being older equipment, and our grits machine is older too, and it's a little fickle. So some days trying to find that sweet spot where you have them just the right size that you want can be a little more difficult. But that's what you're looking for, that little heart right there in the middle of that corn.
So what's cornmeal then? What are you getting in the cornmeal? So you're taking just the heart of the corn for the grits. What's in the cornmeal?
In the cornmeal, you get everything.
Really?
Everything. In our mill, all of our corn-based products are 100% corn. We're not going to take anything out. We're going to grind the whole kernel. You get everything. You get the whole lock, stock, and barrel. Nothing added to it and nothing taken out.
Okay, so we have one bag of cornmeal that's going to say unbolted and one that says self-rising. What's the difference? Unbolted
is kind of an old-fashioned term. Unbolted means unsifted.
Okay.
Which means I'm taking nothing out of it. The self-rising is unbolted. But we put the word self-rising on because we've added a leavening agent to it.
Okay.
So all you have to do when you take that self-rising home, just add the liquid to it, your buttermilk, or in some cases I've heard people use milk. You got it ready to go. You want to hear something funny? I had a conversation with some folks out on the porch a while back. Younger couple, not trying to get on younger folks, but they said, hey, you know what? We tried your cornmeal and we didn't care for it. Well, we've all tried something and you just didn't like it for whatever reason. But I'm curious. I went, okay, well, what didn't you like about it? Well, it tasted funny, tasted off to us. Have you had cornbread before? Well, yeah. I go, well, what did you guys use? Jiffy Mix. And then I started laughing. I said, yeah, you didn't have cornmeal. You didn't have real stuff. But it brought to my attention that we have generational issues here. We have a younger generation that looks at things a little different than my generation did. So I have to be aware of this change a little bit in the market, because a lot of folks aren't used to real cornmeal anymore.
I grew up on Jiffy. Yeah. It's what I knew growing up in Virginia.
Okay.
That's probably why I like a little bit of sugar.
Yeah.
Because Jiffy tends to be pretty sweet. I like to ask everybody to bring a recipe to the podcast, a favorite family recipe, and I want you to tell us what that is and why. What does that recipe mean to you? What is that recipe about?
Okay, so you told me this, and I had to think about this, but my grandmother, when she was a younger woman, worked on the riverboats in West Virginia.
Okay.
As a cook. So this woman had to learn how to cook. And she could cook anything and cook it well. You had to feed those men well on those riverboats. If you couldn't feed them well, you were gone. They'd bring somebody else in. But she had this one little simple thing that she did. And I was a little kid when she first did, when I first realized she was doing it. And I didn't understand it at first, but she was making this huge pot of rice. Mm-hmm. It's a big pot of rice. I'm like, okay, we're having rice for dinner. But we didn't get it for dinner. I noticed it was in the refrigerator. And I'm like, why is rice in the refrigerator? Well, the next morning, we had rice for breakfast. Now, she would take this rice, dip it into your bowl, add some milk to it, and then add some sugar to it. Now, we didn't have microwaves back then, so that's how you ate it. Out of the refrigerator with some milk and sugar on it, and that simple little recipe stuck with me all these years.
I have never heard of that in my life.
Never heard of that.
Now, I know a lot of people that will take their cornbread, and they'll break it up and pour a little milk, or if you like me, buttermilk over top of it.
Yeah. My wife does that.
And that could be a late night snack. It could be breakfast in the morning.
Right.
I'll enjoy that anytime. And it's good and cold. Yeah, I don't heat that back up. I've never heard of rice with a little bit of sugar, but it makes sense. So it's a grain. It's a cereal.
It's grain. It's filling.
It's very filling.
It's very filling.
Yeah, it's not unlike overnight oats.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of us do that today. We'll set up our oatmeal, a little bit of milk in there, stick it in a jar, put it in the refrigerator, and we're going to eat on that for a week.
She was a cook. Everything was from scratch.
Yeah.
Not scratch like we think of today, but I mean scratch. And she was a good cook. She was good.
So that's what makes it really memorable for you. Is that it was something that she always did and something that brings back childhood for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Chuck, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Gosh, your hand's cold. You might want to go somewhere warm.
My head's cold too, but we won't go there.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next time. You've been listening to Foothills of the Smokies, a podcast that celebrates life, heritage, and stories from in and around the Smoky Mountains. Foothills of the Smokies is proudly sponsored by the Old Mill in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where tradition and taste come together. Our executive producer is Laurie Faulkner, sound engineering by John Stewart, and I'm your host, Jimmy Proffitt. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love for you to leave us a rating, share your thoughts, and let us know what you'd like to hear next. Thank you for joining us here in the Foothills. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you soon.